Now, our next guest we've had on multiple occasions, and the reason we have some of our businesses come back is they're really committed to the community and their education. And this business, our next business, has really taken that on. He's taken on being a part of the knowledge base. Knowledge is power, and power to make a good choice. And in that, some of our businesses have really taken on being a part of that information process to our community. And it's a privilege to introduce to you Tom Haltman, owner of DriveLine and Gear. Thank you again for being so committed to our community and their education.
Good morning, Mitch.
Today, I think that in economic times, it's commonplace for us to see people trying to save money, and we don't blame them. But the problem is we're as a show, as an enterprise, concerned with the consumer not sacrificing the quality, the coveted prize, and we say this repeatedly throughout our educational videos as well as even in our preferred business page, that the coveted prize as a consumer is obtaining the highest quality products and services at a fair price. And we quantify that the highest quality products comes first. And you and I had a recent conversation about this that I really wanted our community to hear, that you really want them to put quality first and then are still committed to the fair price strategy.
Yeah, Mitch, in our industry, we often say the phrase cheap and good is an oxymoron. In the automotive parts or service industry, not all service and parts are created equal.
Well, when we were having a conversation about that, and you were giving an example, so I hope you don't mind starting with that, about a U-joint and a low-quality one that you had. And I want our community to understand, this is decades worth of experience in your specific trade. And how many decades would that be?
Over 40 years, 4 decades.
So you've had people bring in different types of parts. You've tried different types of parts for each different application of a drivetrain. And over time, you've seen things repeatedly fail. And it's that knowledge base that gives you the opportunity to really try to have, that has given you the education to make proper part selection. But tell our community a little bit about that story about the U-joints, the inferior quality U-joint problem.
Well, years ago, there was a certain store in town that was selling a cheap U-joint, very, very, very inexpensive, inferior, but they were definitely cheap. They would bring in the U-joints into my shop to have me install them in their drive shaft, and I would see numerous, dozens and dozens of them that were broken in half, and I started saving them in a 5-gallon bucket, and I'd put them underneath the counter, and when they bring in these offshore U-joints for me to install, I'd lift this bucket up on the counter. I said, would you like me to install them in your drive shaft or this bucket? Because that's where they're going to end up. And inevitably, that bucket got so full I couldn't lift it up onto the counter.
And so we're talking about, and I think that people look and they go on a website, and the internet is fantastic. I mean, there's so many benefits to the technologies today of the internet and being able to Google things and get information rapidly. But there's some drawbacks too, because they don't always tell you about the quality of the metals and the tolerances and the strengths and the breaking points of these different components. And that's kind of what you're saying is you've seen a specific manufacturer that just repeatedly failed. So was that cheap or inexpensive or reduced price internet part a savings in the long run to the consumer?
Yeah, we deal with that every day because people want to save a few dollars, and the internet is very attractive because of the low overhead and their buy-in power, but in the long run, it will cost them extra money. You know, there's hidden charges, there's shipping, and there's qualities, and there's if it's a word correctness, lots of times people will bring in their own parts for me to install, and they're incorrect. So, do you stop the job and let them try and find the correct one, or move on with the job? Because you have to have somebody that knows what they're doing. Sometimes you have to see the product to give it an exact match because there have been so many changes in your vehicle over the years.
Well, and you mentioned the quality of the parts. So let's start with that quality for a minute, and let's share a little bit of an in-depth look at what goes into your part selection process. If somebody comes into you and they didn't go on the internet and look for the cheapest part, and they come to you, what can they expect for you to be committed to providing them from parts you select?
Well, taking U-joints, for example, just because it's easier to do at a U-joint. There's metallurgical properties, there's fit tolerances, there's the sealability of the seals. There's just numerous things that goes into building a good quality U-joint. One of my biggest suppliers, Spicer, Dana Spicer, they came out with a chart, a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being the best, on U-joints. They manufacture a number 3 for the automotive industry, the automotive parts warehouse, and they shorten up their tolerances so the normal backyard mechanic can install them and get them in properly.
Well, you were talking about those snap rings on those, I think. Is that the part you were talking about? That? I'll explain that to our listeners.
Yeah, if a good U-joint has to fit nice and snug, the tolerance has to be very, very critical. An aftermarket U-joint, the normal Joe can't install the snap ring to where it seats, and then they go down the road and the snap ring comes out, the U-joint flies out, and catastrophic failures happen. So they loosen the tolerances. Then on the aftermarket, heavy-duty aftermarket, like our shop and some of the other aftermarket deals, is basically a 7. They tighten up the tolerances. The drive shaft will balance, but they're very, very difficult to install properly. So, that's why it's better to take it to a professional to have it done right. We see it all the time, people putting in a $4 U-joint in their $50,000 truck, and it makes no sense. You're better off, you're really, truly saving money by purchasing a great product.
Well, and quality of product, again, I can't emphasize it enough. We say this all the time. The coveted prize begins with the highest quality product and service, then fairly priced. And if you put the quality first, you'll never be disappointed. And there is a balance. And if you can balance the two and get the great quality and a fair price, you've really done it as a consumer. But you were talking about it's more than just saving a buck, or whether or not the life expectancy of that part is the same, or you have to replace it sooner. Or it's their life, and you've seen. Tell us some of the tragedies you've seen over the years from people using inferior parts.
Well, safety is a big issue on quality of parts. We've seen wheel bearings fail. We've seen cheap brakes come apart. We've seen U-joints, of course, break in half. Some of the problems with the U-joint, if a U-joint fails at high speed and it falls down, it could be a rodeo trying to get your truck stopped without crashing. We've seen a drive shaft take out punch holes in gas tanks from falling out. It's very, very important to have good quality parts because your family is in the vehicle with you.
Well, and if they think this is just a myth, all they have to do is come into your showroom, and you have a case on the showroom called the
Hall of Shame.
And you actually show these catastrophic failures and what they look like from some of these inferior used parts.
Absolutely. One time I was coming down I-80, and I'm following a big rig truck. And I look, and here comes this chunk of steel flying out from underneath of it. And it missed my windshield by about, a couple of feet at 60 miles an hour. That would have been real dandy. An owner of a DriveLine shop getting killed by a DriveLine that fell out of someone else's truck. It was scary.
So you're talking safety, and then what about the being stranded? I mean, you've seen that over the years too, I'm sure. Lots
of times. If you see a truck pull off the side of the road and the DriveLine's hanging down, I'll guarantee that some of that is inferior product because that's what happens.
And being stuck out in the middle of nowhere in some of our rural communities, even cell phones don't work, can be catastrophic in and of itself.
Absolutely.
Now let's talk about that. Then if somebody does, take our advice and they step up and they decide that they're not willing to take those chances, and one of the important parts of that is by coming to a reputable shop like yours, and again, 40 years, 4 decades plus in this industry, what do they get with that?
Well, everyone claims to offer an unlimited warranty. You'll get the unlimited warranty on the internet and from catalogs and everybody. But try and get a warranty for a part that you buy on the internet when it's Friday night and your car's on somebody's lift and it's wrong, or the part has failed. There is no such warranty. You get people that know what they're doing. You get people that are willing to help on labor part of the warranty. You get someone that's there when something unfortunately happens.
Well, and you just said it. We've said this on our show before. It is absolutely guaranteed, no matter how hard any business tries, that there's going to be a failure. It is in the light of that failure, how that business responds, that defines them as a business. And it is certainly that level of commitment to integrity and core customer values that makes you qualified to be a guest in our group of businesses and a regular guest on our show that we've asked to be an educator of our community. You and I see eye to eye on the "you get what you pay for" proposition. Tell our listeners what your take is on that.
Well, you do truly get what you pay for. We might not be the cheapest, but we pride ourselves in being and offering the best parts at fair prices. Is there cheaper parts out there? Absolutely. Is there better parts out there? Well, if there is, we'll find them and we will offer them to our customers, because it's important to us that they get the best that we can offer for the fairest price.
Well, and you just heard it. That's the magic combination, is a shop that's committed to the quality of the products, the quality of the installation, standing behind their work. And I just want to make sure our community knows this, that you do that in as well on general automotive repair other than just DriveLine. And I think a lot of our community isn't aware of that. Tell us a little bit about your shop.
Well, we do drive shafts. We do differentials, transfer cases, anything drivetrain related. We do have a 4-bay shop that people don't know we do. We grind flywheels. We do a lot of just general repair that people don't realize. We do pride ourselves on doing the best work possible. We try not to cut any corners. We want people to come back, and we want the vehicle to be correct when it leaves.
And if you've ever seen one of their silver painted drive shafts, you know it's from DriveLine and Gear Service of Nevada. And two locations to serve you in Reno and in Fallon?
Yes, our Reno Spark store is 1325 Glendale Avenue. We're about a quarter mile east of Rock. Phone number 775-331-4500. And then our Fallon store is at 5300 Reno Highway. It's about a quarter mile past Scheckler. Phone number out there is 775-867-2617. And we're have a new website we're working on. It's drivelineandgear.com. Anything we can do to help, give us a call, and we will try our best.